Joining us now, Congresswoman Ashley Hinson from House Homeland Security. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's great to have you on. Your reaction to that report?
Yeah, well, of course, there's a crisis at our southern border, Liz, and maybe President Biden should spend a little bit more time, less time covering his tracks and more time actually dealing with what's actually happening at the southern border. My kids are currently playing upstairs right now. Also right now, the cartels are continuing to send dangerous drugs like fentanyl that looks like Skittles and candy across our southern border. So we have a real crisis at our southern border, and that is ending up in our backyards here in Iowa and across the country. The president and the administration are directly accountable for that, and I think that's why voters are waking up to the crisis at our southern border and are going to vote for Republicans in November.
The president's approval rating in Iowa is now at 35%. I mean, that's according to the Des Moines Register. Now, the White House has yet to release the illegal border crossing data for the month of September, Congresswoman. We have that, and voters are increasingly turning out angry at what's going on in D.C. Congresswoman, we'd like you to listen to this new sound of far-left Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez increasingly getting heckled at her own town halls. Watch this.
Okay, you originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China.
You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party.
Congresswoman, your reaction?
Well, what I hear there is that voters are trying to hold her accountable, just like they're holding the rest of the Democrats in this country accountable. The Democrat Party of today is no more. They've turned into socialist extremists, which is exactly what we're seeing from AOC and members of the squad. What I'm focused on is fixing the problems that Iowans and Americans are telling me matter, which is the problems at our southern border, making sure that inflation, which is at a record 40-year high and is truly eating into lives and livelihoods in this country, that we actually have solutions to address that. So those are the problems that Americans and Iowans are talking about at their kitchen tables. The Democrats have ignored those for 22 months. Look at the last 2 years. We simply cannot afford another 2 years like the last two.
But President Biden and Nancy Pelosi are making the midterms about abortion. They're not talking about this. More than 100 churches and crisis pregnancy centers have been attacked, some more than once, since the May 2nd leak of the Supreme Court draft opinion of Roe v. Wade. There's no word on anybody getting arrested here. But, you know, Nancy Pelosi is telling, saying on MSNBC that the New York Times Siena poll that says abortion is down on the list and people care more about crime, that's just an outlier. That the Real Clear Average poll is an outlier. That's an average of polls. So, is it really about abortion, the midterms?
The midterms are about accountability. They're about putting a check on the Biden-Pelosi agenda. The Pelosi paycheck cut is what we've seen in the last 22 months, and Iowans are paying the price for that. And I think that's what's on the ballot this year. That double standard when it comes to crime and attacks on these centers, we need to be standing up against this kind of violence. Violence is never the right answer. We've had a pregnancy support center right here in Iowa that was threatened, one in my district that received threats as well. And that's not acceptable. But when you look at what's happened across this country, the true soft on crime rhetoric and soft on crime policies are the result of Democrat policies. So Democrats are the party of more crime and defunding the police. Republicans are the party of law and order and supporting safety and security in our communities. And that's, again, what's on the ballot in November.
Democrats have been silent about this. At least 38 churches across the country have been firebombed, smashed, ransacked, or vandalized. Threatening messages. At least 58 other pro-life clinics and organizations have also endured that. So that's okay. The Democrats are silent about that, just as they were silent about 30 to 40 people killed in the riots of 2020. No word on that. Everybody should be okay about that. No one standing up about the violence and the crime attacks on women.
Right. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. It's about making sure we're holding these prosecutors who are not prosecuting crimes and holding people accountable. accountable. It's about holding this administration accountable for the out of control, reckless spending, the crisis at our southern border, the out of control energy prices that you were just talking about moments ago. Those are the issues that are on voters' minds right now as they head to the polls, both here in Iowa and across the country. And I can tell you that's what people care about right now. And those are the issues that I will pledge to continue to work on should we take back the House, which I think we will. It's time to retire Nancy Pelosi.
Congresswoman Hinson, and Democrats have been saying that too. It's good to have you on. Thanks for joining us tonight.